are involved with so many other projects. We really would like to just clean this whole 6-week course up, get it edited, and just have it up on the site for people to go through it. Because again, for those of you that were with us on their first week, the intention is to help people to understand the value and the absolute importance of your electrical system, your electrical body. And like we mentioned earlier, everything is in threes. You have the X, Y, Z axis, the father, mother, child, left, right, middle, hot, warm, cold, the sun, the moon, the earth, past, present, future, proton, electron, neutron, up, down, middle, white, black, gray, etc. You have mind, body, and spirit. And spirit has to be equal with mind, body. In other words, you can't be going to the gym every other day or whatever, and you can't be a bookworm and be disconnected. It's just not going to work for you. And you're going to hit a brick wall at some point. And we are looking around and watching society break down. You know, you would think at this stage we were living into 110, 120 would be the average age. But instead, now we're starting to see a decline of the lifespan into the mid-60s. The average life age of a professional athlete is 65. The average life age of a MD is 68. You know, that's nothing. We should be living twice as long as all that. And from my personal opinion, as I'm on the doorstep of 50, but I feel 30, I feel like a lot of my youthful energy is coming from direct experience with chi, with prana for 20 years now. And so that's where we are. And that's why Josh and I had put this 6-week program together for everybody, so we can help people cut to the chase. And that's the objective. Josh, are you recording this? And so with that said, as always, we want to kick things off by doing a little meditation or prayer. I guess the music's a little too loud, so let's just do a little prayer today while we're having these technical issues. So with that said, get yourself in a comfortable position and let's pray. Creator, Mother, Father, Child, God, by the powers invested within me, I sit here before all that is truly with the highest of good, with the highest of intent. It's at this time that I ask all those beings of light that are here to work with us individually and to work with us as a group to come forth and to do so and to help also protect, to guide, and to be here for us. But we also want to acknowledge all those beings of light and open our hearts up to them and to thank them always for being here for us at our beckoning call, because that's what happens. We call for them and they come. But to let all the beings of light know that we are extremely grateful, and to allow this information to move to you harmonically and organically. There is much that we share that many people already know. The intention really is to help get everyone on the same page together. So with that said, so be it. Today's conversational topic is meridians, chakras, and auras. Now last week, which is one of my favorite weeks, is the fifth element. And so what is the fifth element? We went through all that and we broke it down, and understanding that the fifth element is chi, also known as prana, also known in ancient times as ether, A-E-T-H-E-R, the ethers. In today's modern science, they call it tachyon, or the field. Many people reference chi as the field. The Native Americans call it Great Spirit. The Kahunas call it mana. In ancient Egypt, they called it ka. So all over the world, everyone had this term for this element known as chi, the fifth element. And this fifth element is what brings life or life force to the human species. Without this fifth element, you would not exist. None of us would exist. It literally is the glue that holds everything together. I refer to it kind of as like Maya fascia in the body. The Maya fascia runs throughout the body and connects everything. And for me, the Maya fascia is the bridge between the physical world and the energetic world. So prana is the glue that, and chi and prana is found in all the other elements. You can find chi in water, you can find chi in fire, you can find chi in the air, you can find chi throughout the minerals of the earth. So chi is the fifth and most sacred of all elements. Now that we understand and recognize that there is this fifth element, chi, what do we do with it? And this is where we're starting to go now with this talk, with this 6-week course. Now we're going to start to break down the anatomy of the electrical system. And today, most of you will know most of this information. We're just bringing in some really good authors and teachers and just hammering out the most important aspect of the meridians, chakras, and auras. But as we move further into the course, we will get into more detail about the electrical system. So with that said, let's begin. When you want to talk about the electrical system, and we brought this gentleman up before, you have to look into the work of Alex Gray. Now, Alex, as most of us should know at this point, he's a visionary artist, but his work is so good that he was contracted by Harvard Medical, and he had put together a series of work for Harvard, drawing out the entire anatomical system, and which consists of the muscles, the skeletal system, the endocrine system, the entire physical anatomy. But what is not found in Harvard studies is what you're seeing on the screen, which is his drawings of the electrical anatomy. And we mentioned before that Josh and I were very blessed. We got to hang out with Alex and talk to him. And this is an aspect of the human anatomy that the medical industry does not want you to know about. I don't want to sound conspiratorial and say they don't want you to know about this, but it's quite clear that they know about it, but they're not talking about it. So a process of elimination would probably break it down to they don't really want you to know about it. But if you look at Alex's work, he gets into some pretty good detail as far as having the three systems, the meridians, the chakras in your auras as part of this electrical system or your electrical anatomy. Josh?
It's interesting to note too that if you go up to Cosm, which is in Wappinger Falls, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, upstate New York, and you listen to him talk, he talks about how he took a megadose of LSD and witnessed these things firsthand, and then just began to paint these things that he was seeing.
And he's very personal. Like you can actually highly recommend, if anyone's on the East Coast, to go to Alex's Cosm retreat. It's awesome. It's really cool. And it's so cool to get up and close to these paintings, because you kind of turn on when you stand in front of some of his original work, the chakra system. It kind of turns your system on just standing with it. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's like an activation, just being there. Absolutely.
So one of the things we want to, our first direction is we're going to talk about the meridians. And the meridians are actual roads of energy. They're like, up until now, they were invisible. Of course, ancient times, they talk about them, the meridians, and most of us, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but acupuncturists, of course, have been needling people along these meridian roadways for thousands of years. And but in modern times, we're going to put in the chat a link to a fantastic article basically breaking down how science can see these, what used to be imaginary roadways known as meridians. And Josh has that up on the screen now. Why don't you just copy, paste, and throw that in the chat box so people can have that later. But it's a fantastic article. I recommend that you check it out, because this is the exciting thing right now, is science and spirituality are finally coming back together. They were together many years, thousands of years ago, but through the Great Fall, things have been separated. And now what's happening after 2012 is we're having a reawakening that we've all been hearing about. And that reawakening is a process of us waking up to who we really are. And there's plenty of data right now that's proving what we've always known anyway. So meridians they run throughout the entire body from head to toe, and they are connected to various aspects of the body. It's a very deep topic, actually, the science of the meridians. That's why I recommend that you check out that article that we have. And there's, like I mentioned before, there's people like acupuncturists who have been working with meridians for a long time. So go ahead, Josh.
And when we do, when we dissect the body after a person passes, you don't find a lot of these things or any of them, because it's energy and it dissipates with the spirit as the spirit leaves. And so I think that's part of the reason why a lot of this has been hard for us to catch up to, because we're so focused on the physical. And if we don't see it with our physical eyes, we tend to just think that it doesn't exist. But there's more out there beyond what our eye can see than what we actually can see. And then this is just going into a deeper, more of a, just to kind of give you a feel for all the different energy pathways throughout the entire body. And then here you have a more detailed shot of one of Alex's works, showing you all these white lines that are moving through, and then these circles that you see. I believe these would be, Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but these would be the actual acupuncture points that they would use to treat somebody.
Correct.
Yes. And they're all, I forget the actual word, but there's like...
They're nodal points.
Oh, yeah, all right. And then that brings us into tapping.
Tapping is another fantastic technique. If you're not able to see an acupuncturist or get acupuncture done by needling, you can work with your meridians simply by tapping them out. And it's called EFT is one of the forms of tapping. It's emotional release. And so if you're not familiar with tapping, I recommend you just look it up. Just look up tapping. We don't want to get in too much into it right now. Our objective really is to lay out some examples for all of you and for you to do your own homework. But these are the ones, everything that we talk about is what has worked or is working for us. And tapping is something that my family and I have been doing for decades. And it's just a great way to have an emotional release, because that's another thing to be understood, is that when we have issues or trauma or something takes place, on a physical level, it's called cellular memory. But on an energetic level, we get energetic blockage. And so it's important for the meridians, just like a stream or just like a road, you have to have balance and flow. Things need to have consistent flow. And when we get blockage, like a dam, like blocking up a river, you get stagnant energy. And you can tap things out. You can simply just use your fingers and tap on these meridian lines or meridian nodes or points, and it will unblock, along with other things you can chant, or you say mantras. Again, just go and look into tapping if you've never heard of it before. It's fantastic. It's free because you are doing it to yourself, which is the key. And it's just a great way to, again, have a good emotional release.
We're beings of vibration and frequency, so it's pretty common sense, I think. Just by tapping, you're sending these frequencies through your body, and you're like shaking things loose. You can even, like Ron was just saying, you can ohm into these areas while you're tapping, and just using sound and vibration to help free things up and get things moving again. And we did talk about cymatics in previous weeks, and we will dive a little bit further into that in this course. And then this is just showing you on the back a lot more of these energy pathways and all of the nodal points that you can use to either tap or for acupuncture or acupressure. And you can see here, this woman is actually having the needles used.
I can personally say acupuncture is phenomenal work. I've gone and gotten needled a handful of times, especially for my arms and my hands because of my work. And it's painless. For people who say, "Oh, I can't handle needles in me," you can barely feel. It's like a little prick. Like it hurts to get stung by a mosquito 10 times more than it does to get needled. But acupuncture's been around for about 6,000 years now, and they're needling you on these meridian lines. So somebody had to know about the meridians a long time ago.
And you could see she's got somewhat of a smile on her face, so she's not in any kind of pain. It's a very comfortable experience. All right.
So the next thing we want to talk about are the chakras. Now the chakras, what most people don't know, each chakra is a mini Merkaba. There's a counter-rotating field happening at each chakra. Now, what I would like to express is that the chakras, and I have personally seen the chakras with my naked eye many times. It's the most fantastic thing in the world to witness the human chakra system. They're literally mini tornadoes. And I mean literally. They exist, they're physical, they're tangible, and now science can see them, which is really cool too. But what I would like to say is that, go back real quick, Josh, to that previous screen. I'm sorry. Um, Generally, most people, when we talk about the chakras, they think about the seven chakras. And what you're seeing here, which is the picture of Alex Gray. And if you notice, each chakra is a different color. And at this stage, most people should know a lot of this. But why are they different color? Because literally each energy point is vibrating and spinning at different frequencies. So the first chakra, which is red, it's your root chakra. The first thing that happens when a child is born is they want to root themselves into the earth. You got to have good rooting. That's why it's important to have a good home. Because when you're born, you want to be born into a good home system. and so that root chakra is rotating. It's spinning at a slower speed than the ones above it, and so that speed ratio is throwing off a hue of red. And it literally really is. It's unbelievable. I mean, I've literally have seen the colors coming off the chakras. It's so hard to express the divine makeup of the human electrical system, of the human body within itself. I mean, we're enamored with the physical body, with the muscles and everything. But if you could see and understand your electrical anatomy, it is really like going from checkers to chess. It's one of the most incredible things that I have ever experienced. Um, but just understand that where you're seeing on the picture of the different colors of the chakras, you actually literally have a tiny little tornado coming out of your body. And that's the next page that Josh will go to. Most people don't recognize that or talk about that the chakras actually are in the front and the back. That needs to be understood. You literally have these little vortexes coming out the back of your body. And that's basically how you are dealing with your issues. So each energy center is an emotional aspect. And you can pick up any chakra chart and they break it all down. Not going to get too much into it because at this stage, I know I'm singing to the choir here with most of you with this particular topic. But what people don't really know, people who think they understand the chakras, is that each chakra literally is a spinning mini Merkaba. So if you begin to study Merkaba science, which will be on the last day, I believe, of the last week of our talk, we'll get into all that. If you begin to understand Merkaba science, then it becomes a little easier understanding your own chakra system and how to deal with the chakra system and heal it and clear it out much quicker than it is to, let's say, lay crystals on you, which I love to do for an hour and a half or so, which usually it takes to clear out the chakras, where we can clear out your chakras within 4 or 5 minutes on your own, not needing anybody. Again, I can't put enough emphasis that this course is to empower yourself. So you need nothing outside of yourself, because you are the seed that contains the whole of the universe. Don't ever forget that. That really is our overall message to this course. I can certainly sit and talk about chakras for a long time. I've spent 20 years as a Reiki practitioner and teacher, working directly with the chakras. And it's not hard to clear out a chakra. It's really not hard at all. Even with people who have trauma, with a good, with the proper, because there's so many different techniques, but with the proper technique, TPP, time, place, people, you can really help individuals pretty rapidly. So go ahead, Josh.
And just a little side note that these literally scoured the internet to bring you the best images that we could find to help you understand the electrical anatomy. And this is it. Like, you're looking at it between this and Alex Gray, who his work is fantastic, but we're really stuck looking at this in 2 dimensions, and it's also beyond it being more than 2 dimensions. It's fluid and it's moving, so it's really not that accurate of like what we're actually seeing. And Ron and I are trying to put together a project to have an animation that will very clearly lay this all out in 3 dimensions and be moving. And that's part of what the donations that we ask are going to be funding, is this animation project to get out onto the internet so that there's a better visual for people to actually see what is going on.
The last thing I'd like to say, real quick, go back one real quick. The last thing I just want to say here is that you want to know something really cool. If you take the distance between your nose and chin, which happens to be the same distance between your eyes, which also happens to be the same distance as the width of your palm of your hand, that's the distance between your chakras. So if you take the distance between your palm and your hand and you bring it down to the perineum and you begin to walk yourself up, you can find the exact distance between each energy center. And if you do that, go ahead, Josh, you can go to the next page. And if you measure that out, you'll realize that you have more than 7 chakras. Society just usually talks about the 7 major chakras, but we really have 13 major chakras, and we have 21 minor chakras that run throughout the body. Like everywhere there's a joint, like in your elbow, there's a vortex there. The palms of your hands, of course, people who do Reiki, they understand that. You got those vortexes there. So throughout the entire body, you have a lot of energy centers. And so what brings us to this image, the chromatic scale, is that we understand how vibration and frequency plays a huge role in our energetic anatomy. Go ahead, Josh.
And yeah, this is straight out of Drumblow's book, and it's each one of the 7 major chakras corresponds to a note on the chromatic scale. So it's, if you count them, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 is the return, which is the root chakra of the next level of existence. So if you add in the black keys, you have 13, and then you end up with a system of chakras that looks like this. And that's what Ron was talking about, how you could you could go the distance between the tip of your nose and your chin, starting at your perineum, and rock that up, and you will go. And it's hard because like how this doesn't look like it's the same distance as this, but it's because of the way the body is shaped that this kind of looks like this. But you can use that distance to find all these exact points all the way up to the return or next chakra system above you. This is like your higher self up here, because there's another set of chakras above you that you're shifting up into. And the same goes for below you, and a set of chakras below you is where we came from. This brings us into our next topic, which is we're going to talk about Reiki, which we began to start discussing. Dr. Lee Sensei here is picture.
So Dr. Asui, he's got an incredible story. He was a monk who came across these scrolls, and he didn't know what to do with what the scrolls were talking about. So he went up on a mountain and he fasted. I believe it was like 21 days or 28 days, somewhere around there. And he didn't, again, he didn't eat for, I think it was 21 days. It was like on the last day he had this epiphany. He had this he had he had a vision, and the Great Spirit came and spoke to him and explained the divine importance of the laying of the hands. And he had taken the information that he found on the scrolls along with his vision that he had, and he began to implore what we know today as Reiki. What is Reiki? We kind of went over this on day one, but Rei is universal and Ki is energy. So Reiki, universal energy. And what a Reiki, and for those of you who are not aware of Reiki, but basically, when you bring your hands together, after you're attuned, after you have a Reiki attunement and you turn your hands are turned on. When you bring your hands together, you act as a tuning fork. It has nothing to do with your energy if you're the practitioner, and it doesn't have anything to do with the client's energy either. It's all about the Reiki, the universal energy that's everywhere. So when a practitioner puts their hands together and lays it on to a client, the energy, the Reiki, the prana, the chi, begins to move through the hands of the practitioner and into the client. But simultaneously, the practitioner is also receiving the Reiki. So that's one of the things that I love about Reiki, especially being a practitioner, is that whenever I have a Reiki session to do, which I had one yesterday, I do about 2 or 3 a week on an average. I get excited because I know that I'm going to be getting Reiki too, and so Reiki is one of the best, I feel, one of the best ways to have a direct experience with this chi energy we keep talking about, with the fifth element. It's one of the 101, for me, it's like 101. It's when people have never experienced energy, I always say you got to go get Reiki done. Because almost immediately, I would say, at least in my experience, 87% of the people who get Reiki done can feel it rapidly. And they're feeling it in their hands, they feeling it throughout the body, they feel it in waves, they get all kinds of sensations. Some people trip. When you're doing Reiki to them, they can see all kinds of really cool things. So Reiki is a fantastic modality to have a direct experience with chi, and you're raking, unless otherwise, you're basically raking over the 7 major chakras. So you're just laying your hands on top of each chakra, generally for around 5 to 10 minutes, or 5 to 7 minutes or so per chakra. And while you're laying your hands there on somebody, you can, as a practitioner, for me, I can feel the flow of energy. And if the flow feels blocked, if I'm getting a lot of heat, why do people get heat when they do Reiki? It's because you're having an exchange of energy. Just like a spliced wire, when you plug in a wire that's been spliced and there's a lot of sparking and friction going on there, because you're having, there's energy coming in and there's energy coming out. And so basically, if you're getting a lot of heat when you're doing Reiki, you want to just stay there until that heat subsides, because chi is actually a very cool field. But when there's heat, then you know there's a problem, and you stay there until the heat dissipates, and then you know that you can move on. You've been assisting with the healing. So just to end with Dr. Sui, to me, Reiki is one of the best ways for humanity to have a direct experience with prana and becoming aware of the human electrical system. And also Reiki is a really good way of learning how to meditate, because when people receive Reiki, they are in fact in a form of meditation. Um, Even though they're just laying there, but they're laying there and see, because let me explain that as a facilitator in meditation, one of the things I hear common is that people say to me, they can't meditate, they don't know how to turn their mind off, they can't stop thinking. And I laugh and say, I can't stop thinking either. That's the function of the brain. But when you learn modalities like Reiki and Qigong and these other things that we'll get into, what's happening is that you learn how to feel. And so if you begin to feel this energy, you're not going to be thinking for too long. Trust me. If you're having a Reiki session and you're laying on the table and your mind is having a monkey chatter, the chatter is going off, the monkey mind, all of a sudden you start feeling energy. Trust me, you're not going to be chattering about what you need to be doing or what bill you have to pay and all that. All of a sudden your mind is going to be like, whoa, what's that? And you're going to be feeling. So that's one of the biggest misconceptions about meditation, is that you have to turn off the mind. No, it's not about that. It's about learning how to feel energy. Because when you stop thinking, when you think, you project. When you stop thinking, energy can flow in. So if you can allow the energy to flow in, the mind will shut off. If you can learn techniques such as Reiki to get energy to start flowing, then your mind will start to shut off. Go ahead, Josh.
That was exactly how it happened for me. My first experience with any kind of energy, anything, was Reiki. And I'm on the table and I'm talking. Her name was Gina, and I kind of had the same thing that Ron was saying. The monkey mind was going. But then as soon as she started, and for me, I'm a little bit more sensitive, I think, than most people to this stuff, but it washed over me, and I was like, wow. And then before I knew it, I actually woke up like an hour and 45 minutes later. I fell asleep and I woke up, and the feeling was incredible. It was like I just had this full body massage, but she actually didn't touch me at all. And so it really is this great way to introduce yourself to this thing called Qi.
One of the guys.
Oh, well, Ron, I just wanted to add, too, you had mentioned about clearing your head, and it reminded me of David Wilcox saying how it's not necessarily that you're going to not have any thoughts at all, but you start to tune into your thoughts from higher mind. Thoughts from higher self begin to come in, and it's not just like a song that's playing in your head that you heard throughout the day, or this bill that you got to pay or something. It's like thoughts from your higher self that start to come in, and you can tune into a different level of your own self. Go ahead, Ron.
And that's exactly what we mean about going from chakras to chess. Like you get out of the muggle, mundane thoughts, and now you're in a different state of consciousness. And that's what happens when you begin to awaken to this electrical system. You go from chakras to chess. So ending with that, and I really recommend, if anyone out there who's never had Reiki done or doesn't know anything about it, Reiki really is the 101 to the energy world, I believe. It's just a simple way to get there. Two of the most fantastic books in the world that you could ever have when becoming a Reiki practitioner, or to do any kind of energetic healing or hands-on healing, or to understand the chakras. The Wheels of Life, the book on the right, is like the Bible of the chakra system. And I know we spoke about Barbara Brennan's book, Hands of Light. I think we brought that up last week. It's just another phenomenal, fantastic book dealing with the chakra system. Now, one of the people that we have to bring up when you're talking about hands-on healing is this gentleman from Evolving Humans. and he is awesome. And he has a course for like $50 that I highly recommend. But we're gonna play something for you here.
Please let me know if it's too quiet or too loud as I begin to play this.
You feel something there all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's in
A little loud.
You said a little loud?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay.
Looks like something's happening there.
Mm-hmm.
Should I take a look for him?
That's good.
Yeah, I could. You want me to?
Yeah, please.
Here we go. I'm just going to ask you to freeze your body just in one spot and just feel everything there's to be felt. Here we go. Just let yourself feel deeply. Yeah. Yeah. And just let it all go.
Good job. That's amazing.
Let's
There was the before, and then it leaving.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you.
I'm so happy for so many reasons.
So basically, I mean, he just, in a matter of seconds, projected chi to this guy, and with the use of energy, cleared out whatever he had going on there in his shoulder. It's that simple. I mean, that's what, and I personally have had my own experiences that are very similar to that, and it's that powerful. You know, like as a kid or just in general, you become dehydrated, you're out hiking or something, or you're running around and you're just become hydrated, and maybe you're getting a headache and you're getting dizzy and you have to sit down. And if you just drink a glass of water and sit down for a second, you clear out. It's like, oh, I feel better, you know? It's the fundamentals of the elements and the importance of the elements and how we need them all. Like if we don't have any, if we become depleted of minerals, then we get sick, right? If we not drinking water, you become dehydrated, you know? But how easy is it to rehydrate? You just drink some water, you know? And that's the thing about chi that society just has not grasped yet, how powerful and easy it is to tap into chi and assist yourself in any form of healing possible. So I had to, I'm a huge fan of this guy. I always forget his name, but his website is called evolvinghumans.com, and he's fun. He goes out out in the park and he just starts working with people and gets them to recognize the energy. And to watch their faces and to watch them have the experience, you know, it's almost like magic, but it's not magic. It's raising your consciousness, raising your awareness to the fifth element and to your electrical system.
You feel something?
So the next thing we want to bring up here, another prime example, and many of you at this stage know of or know about Greg Braden and his amazing body of work. And one of the things that Greg had brought forth was the existence of what is called China's medicineless hospital. And Greg has been sharing this video for many years, which we're going to play for you right now. That basically is a video of somebody who has a tumor, and literally within like a minute, 3 Qigong masters come into this room, and you're going to watch it right now, but they basically get rid of the tumor in a matter of seconds, matter within a minute, really.
And it's real time too is important. It's not a time lapse.
So any discussion regarding this feeling-based prayer, this lost mode of prayer, sometimes seems a little more than academic until we can actually apply it in our lives or see it applied in our lives. It's in the late 1990s that I had the opportunity to do precisely that. When I saw the footage documenting the healing of a life-threatening condition within the body of a living woman using precisely the kinds of techniques that we're speaking about right now. For me, it was this kind of information that took this lost modality of prayer out of the realm of academics and into something that's very real that we can apply in our lives. I had the opportunity during that time to see some video footage of the healing of a 3-inch diameter bladder cancer inside the body of a woman who, by Western medical standards, had been diagnosed inoperable. She had gone, as a last resort, to a medicineless hospital in Beijing, China. It was in this medicineless hospital where they began simply by addressing the life-affirming ways that she could change how she was living her life. They taught her life-affirming ways to breathe and life-affirming ways to nourish her body, gentle movements to stimulate the energy centers in her body. And as she was doing these and strengthening her body, at one point it made sense to undergo a process. Now I'd like to share this. I'd like to describe it to you as a very potent example of how the feeling world inside of our bodies has a direct effect, in this case a very graphic effect, on the world beyond our bodies. So in the video documentation, the film shows a woman lying on in a hospital room. She's fully awake, she's fully conscious, she believes in the process that's about to happen. Before her, there is an ultrasound technician who is running an ultrasound wand over her lower abdomen that we can see on a split-screen television. And on the left-hand side of the screen, they do a snapshot, a freeze frame of an instant in time for reference, so we can see what her condition looked like in that instant in time. On the right-hand side of the screen, we are able to watch real time as 3 practitioners stand behind her, working with the energy in her body and with the feelings in their bodies. And what they do is they begin to chant a word that to them they've agreed upon, that reinforces the feeling within them that she's already healed. The chant essentially says already healed, already done. And as they begin to have this feeling and to say these words among themselves, on the computer screen, on the television screen, we can watch in real time this cancerous tumor as it disappears in less than 3 minutes real time. It's not like time-lapse on a documentary where you see a rose unfold in 30 seconds in something that normally takes days. This literally happens in less than 3 minutes. Her body responded to the feelings of the practitioners who were trained to have the kinds of feelings that they were having. And all they were feeling was the feeling of what it feels like to be in the presence of a woman who is already healed, fully enabled, fully capacitated. They were not seeing her as a woman who was sick, and they weren't saying, bad cancer, you've got to go away. It's a very, very different way of thinking about things, and it's a very graphic example of precisely how this principle works. I had the opportunity to speak to the gentleman, Luke Chen, that actually created this film. And I asked him a question. I said, what if those 3 practitioners weren't there? I said, could this woman have done this? Could any of us do this on our own? And he smiled at me when I asked him the question. He said, Greg, in all probability, she probably could have done it alone. However, there's something about us humans in that we seem to feel more empowered and stronger when we're supported by others in the things that we believe in and in the things that we choose to accomplish. So while she probably could have had this feeling and done it herself, having these 3 practitioners work with her was the threshold that it took for her body to respond. All they were doing was having the feeling as if she were already healed, and in less than 3 minutes her body responded. What Western physics now is beginning to tell us is that the same energy, the same field that led to the healing in this woman's body also leads to peace between nations. It's the same thing, different scale, same principle. And I've been involved in experiments where hundreds of thousands of people joined together through the World Wide Web. We were coordinated on the internet at a given hour of time, a window of time, when we were trained to feel the feelings of peace in our bodies during that time. And when we did that, statistically, what happened in events around the world, there were wartime events. There were bombings, aerial bombings in Iraq that were scheduled, that were reversed during the window of time when this prayer was happening. Crimes against people declined. Emergency hospital room visits declined. There was a computer research project at Princeton University that was able to document the field of consciousness on a global level while these prayers were going on, and they saw a little glitch, a glyph on the screen indicating that consciousness was responding to hundreds of thousands of people feeling the feeling of peace in the moment that it was occurring. And what this tells us is that the field we're working with is a measurable field. You can pick it up with equipment. It can be measured on the computer screen. This was part of the research project at Princeton University that was called the Global Consciousness Project. So the field is real. It's out there. And it responds to us in ways now that we're only beginning to understand. Even more recently, the research that's been done by the scientist Masaru Emoto regarding the relationship between human emotion, human feeling, and water drops is showing this relationship even more poignantly. What has happened is that these scientists, this particular research project, has discovered that droplets of water that make up over 70% of our world anyway and 70% of our bodies, that these droplets of water respond to human emotion, whether it is felt in the body or as it is actually written on labels that are placed onto vials of water, and the emotion of the researcher as the labels are being written and placed onto those vials. The vials are then frozen for a specific period of time, removed from the freezing process, and as they begin to thaw, they crystallize. And the crystals are the telltale sign of what is happening with the emotion. For example, they've taken water, highly polluted, highly toxic water, from some of the most polluted dams in the center of Japan. This water has never been known to crystallize. They just can't get it to crystallize. And when you look at it under a microscope, what you see, it's a very muddy, very nebulous form. There's no symmetry. There's no crystalline structure whatsoever before the emotions are in place. After the emotions are there, for example, when 500 people pray over some of this most polluted water, the before image shows the water in its toxic state. The after image of the same water shows this water beautifully formed, beautifully clear, beautifully crystalline, perfectly symmetrical, purely from the result of human emotion interacting and human feeling interacting with this field of water. Some of the other research has shown families where children and their parents have encircled a vial of water in a room that has never been found to crystallize. Again, some of the very highly polluted and toxic water. And what they do, they make a game out of it. The children, they send love to the water. They say, we love you, water. We appreciate you, water. Thank you, water, for what you bring to our world and our lives. And in that innocence, they are eliciting these genuine states of emotion. And as the research continues, it is precisely these vials of water that have received this kind of energy from the children and their families, feelings that the ancients called prayer, that the water begins to crystallize into beautiful, symmetrical, very clear forms, showing once again that there's a direct effect between what we feel in our bodies and what's happening in the world beyond our bodies. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, very poignant example of how each of us has an opportunity to participate, not to control and manipulate, but rather participate in the events of our world, the events of our lives, our families, our communities, and our bodies through the field that links all in creation.
All right. Ron, are you still there? Did we lose you?
I'm sorry. I was actually talking on mute as a chooch. So so we were showing you these examples of people around the world that understand energy on a different level of consciousness. And that's really the key here, is to raise your awareness, raise your level of consciousness, so that you too, so that you also can direct this energy back into your body, and heal just about everything and anything. I mean, I have met a young man in Mexico who grew an arm back. He didn't know any better, and there's a story about him. It's in Nature magazine, and he just assumed that, you know, because I forget what it was, like he used to play with salamanders or something as a kid, and knew that they could grow their arms back, and he did the same. And you know, so everything in this reality is just an illusion, and it really is. I mean, you hear these things, you know, like we were explaining last week about the Birkeland currents, and you know, my mother's genre, her era, the hippie era, they used to walk around and say how we were all one. Well, now science can prove that we are one. We have this energy that moves through all things, and so we're at a different stage right now. It's time to turn the page, and it's time to recognize that you are more than just a mind body, but you have this electrical system, and this electrical system needs to be nurtured. And that's really what we're trying to get at here. And there's different ways of doing that. And for people who are just starting off, there's some really good healing systems out there. And we're going to show you one now.
And like before we do show you these things, I just want to say that there really is nothing more powerful than your body and your consciousness to heal yourself. But like that being said, there are a few external devices that Ron and I have come across in our life's travels that we feel are worth sharing to the community, to say, hey, like if you need that little bit of a boost from outside yourself to help in the beginning, there are certain things out there, like these DOS discs. I'm not sure what the acronym stands for. It's not a disk operating system. It's I don't really know what this stands for, but they were developed by Dr. Kundi, and he's a Portuguese, I believe. He is in Brazil, and And it's just layers of precious metals all arranged in sacred geometric fashions that basically they found a way after 20 some years of research of studying the chakras with medical instruments. They concluded, like Ron had said previously, that each chakra is a mini Merkaba, and they were able to actually create a chakra in a piece of technology, this DOS chakra disc, and they act as a harmonizing unit so that when you place the disc over your chakra, it pulls it into its correct tuning and holds it there. And what you're seeing on the right-hand side is one that was actually cut open so that you could see the inside of the disc. And if you watch John Velo's workshops, they're on some, I think most of them are on Gaia.com. You can watch like all of John Velo's workshops there. And he actually has some fantastic stories about these discs. We won't really get into it here, but they're pretty amazing. They're a little expensive, but if you manage to have an opportunity to have a session with these, I really recommend it. Don't pass up the opportunity because they're amazing.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I agree. I've been blessed to experience the discs, and they're excellent. And another system we want to bring up are tachyon technologies. And basically, you've got these discs, and inside of them are silicon that has been tachionized. And tachyon is a frequency that's just above the speed of light. And when one puts these discs on or around them, basically what they're doing is knocking out all the EMF, the electromagnetic fields. And I'll see a lot of these, like for instance, like these tachyon, like I live in Center City, Philadelphia, and I'm bombarded by technology here. So we have a lot of toys in our house. Earlier, you might have saw that I was sitting in a pyramid, but then my battery was starting to die, so I had to move. But I've got a lot of toys in the house to help me combat the technological muggle world. But if I was living like in the woods, I wouldn't need a lot of this stuff. I'd be surrounded by nature. But the tachyon is not as expensive as the DOS disc, and we get fantastic results. I've been personally using the tachyon since 2003, and it's one of my go-to systems. And the person there on that picture, they're actually in what's called a cocoon. They're being cocooned, which is basically surrounding oneself with tachyon. And when you can cocoon yourself with tachyon, the energetic system, and Josh has the company's site up on the computer, Tachyon Technologies. You can go in there and you can get some pretty good stuff, but you want to look for the discs, which Josh has. I like the discs the best. They have a lot of good products there, but the discs are great because you can take them with you everywhere and anywhere. I actually have a disc on my computer, and I've got one on my phone, and I've got one on my my circuit box, and we have them around the house. I've got one on my my water distributor. I've got one there. So we have them all over. Actually, the girls, we sleep with them. We have them on our headboard, on our beds. So when you're sleeping at night, you're getting assisted by the tachyon, and we swear by them. My family loves them, and like whenever my girls have any issues, like maybe cramps or female things, or even when they were younger, when they were having having to go to the bathroom kind of things. How can kids get blocked up? They would put a disc on, and like within 10 minutes or so, they'd be running to the bathroom. So it was always a good marker for me to see how well the discs work. So yeah, they're great for Reiki. I use the discs for Reiki. So check them out. The next thing we want to talk about, and the last topic for today, is the auras. Remember, we start off with the meridians and we went into the chakras. Now the meridians, they kind of filter into or they funnel. The meridians funnel into the chakras. So the meridians are like roads, and they funnel into a highway system known as the chakras. And simultaneously, you have what are known as the auras, which is the energy coming off of the body. So you have these three systems really that are in cahoots with each other, cahoots. And what I can say about the auras, because I've seen them and I see them often, but I've seen them in detail, especially on ayahuasca, and I had experiences with pure MDMA that I was able to tune in and see people's auras. And what I saw was very parallel, very similar to what you're seeing on the screen, which is the aurora borealis, is the northern lights. And when I saw the auras around people, that was the first thing that came to me was, wow. I mean, just like what you're seeing now with the different colors of the northern lights and how it's very fluid-like and how they flow, and that's exactly how the auras are around the body. They just fluctuate and they flow and they flutter different colors. It's so beautiful. I look forward to the moment, and I believe we're getting there. I believe we're coming to it very soon, where humanity actually begins to tune into their electrical system. And you are going to be in awe of the colors that are coming off of the human body, just like the colors that you see the aurora borealis. Now, what we've come to learn about the northern lights is that what you are witnessing is literally Mother Earth having an orgasm. So Father Sky, Father Sun, sends off a coronal mass ejection, a CME, or a solar flare, or also a burst of the Birkeland currents, and it hits Mother Earth, and she responds by having an orgasm of northern lights. And we do the same thing. We literally do the same thing when we have an orgasm. So you can imagine when you're having an orgasm, not to get personal here, but when you're having an orgasm, you are seeing, you are throwing off this amazing amount of energetic light or energy coming off of you that looks just like the northern lights, and they're known as your auras. And so people like psychics, when they sit with you, when you're sitting with a psychic and they're looking at your auric body, that's just you in that minute. That's just you in that second. Okay, so when you sit with a psychic and they're picking up your colors in that minute, that's just your state of being in that particular second moment of you sitting in front of them. You could receive a text while you're sitting with the psychic, and the text could make you super happy or super mad or sad, and instantly your auras would change. And so and also your auras are a reflection of which energy centers are open and healthy or not. So if you're with a psychic and they're seeing a lot of, like, let's say green and blue, well, basically pretty much your heart chakra and your throat chakra are healthy. They're open and they're healthy, and that's what you're expressing in that moment. If you are, like, let's see, real dark blotchy red colors, basically you're blocked, because when you start to get into the darker colors, that's showing someone whose energetic body is blocked. And so when you start working with somebody, their auras will immediately change. And we've done this, all kinds of stuff like this, where we were, you have those, what are they called? I forget, the aura picture taking devices. I don't know, it starts with a G, I think. I want to say Garrison, not
Brilliant?
Yeah, Trillion, that's it. Yeah, Trillion photography. Thank you. So when you have something like that, and they take a snapshot of you in that second, and then let's say you go and get some Reiki done and go back and take another picture, your auras are going to be much different. And so basically, your aura is a reflection of you in that particular instant. And they fluctuate and flutter and they change constantly. And they're so beautiful to see. They really do look just like the Northern Lights. And so, go ahead, Josh. That previous picture too, one last thing is what we discovered is that there's actually 7 layers of the auras. Your very first layer, and I've personally have seen the cobalt blue layer, which is very close to the body. This is not doing justice, this picture of it. The cobalt blue aura is real close to the body, and I've seen that with my naked eye, and it is beautiful. These colors coming off of us are very like neon. They're very like you know those black light posters and how bright they are, and the neon colors that are coming off those posters. That's very similar to the colors coming off the human body. Go ahead, Josh.
And then pretty much to begin to wrap up the talk, when we begin on this journey, we're beginning a journey of self-care. And it's important, I think, to in your home or wherever you're comfortable, is to designate a space that you create this sacred space. And it's a lot like sending a signal to higher self that you're ready to begin connecting and ready to raise your vibration. And it's sort of like when you invite your friends over, you want your house to be tidy. So the same way you do that, when you're creating a sacred space, you're inviting in all these higher aspects of your being, and you kind of want to roll out the red carpet for them. And so this is like a space for you to begin to do all of this healing work. Ron, would you like to add anything to that? Are you muted? Did we lose you? I'm not sure where the video went, so I can't see you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm here. So just to end with that, we're creating a sacred space. It helps. And it's just like Josh says. It really, because again, we are talking about, we are like alchemists. We're living in an energetic world, an ocean of energy. And the more you become aware of this energy, that's what makes feng shui so important. What is feng shui? Feng shui is art placement, or it's creating an environment that's auspicious to you, the individual. That's why everyone's homes are decorated and placed differently, because really it's about creating an environment or a space that can help you become optimal, and optimal as far as in your health. And one of the things I'll show you, I started this class off today. I was sitting in my pyramid, but maybe see if you can see, if any of you can see me or see my my screen. Here's my pyramid that I have it in my house, and this is one of the places I go for my sacred space. I come here to meditate, and the energy is fantastic here, and it really helps. You know, it's my go-to place, you know, and it helps to have something. You don't have to build a pyramid, of course, but it really helps to have a place within your house or somewhere that you can go to and turn things off. And I just, all I can say is, talk at times can be cheap. And what we're trying to express is about having a direct experience. And you can't have a direct experience unless you go and do it. I'm not saying build a pyramid in your house, but how you ever going to have these experiences without doing any of this kind of stuff? And you owe it to yourself, to take things to another level, and try to find somewhere in your house that you can go to. It's just a seat by a window, or you don't have to get fancy, but I recommend I always have sage with me, and or I burn Palo Santo or Nag Champa. It just helps the mind to shut off, and it helps to bring in harmonic frequencies. So go ahead, Josh.
And Ron just perfectly segued into the next slide, smudging and sage, and using things like every culture and area of the world has something that's indigenous. Like in North America, you have sage. In South America, you have Palo Santo. In Mexico, you have Capal. And other cultures, you have other things. And these are just permission slips, really. But there are certain, like they actually have proven now that there are antibacterial properties to sage. So you're more than just cleaning a space energetically, you're actually cleaning it physically also. And you're just using these tools coupled with your intention to clear a space. You could just kind of walk around to each corner of your space, or the whole entire house, or every single room, really, and just sort of, cleanse and purify. And you're just thinking in your mind and cleanse and purify, and you open a window as a symbol to let things go, and cleaning the space. So it's like you've created your sacred space, and then you use a technique called smudging with whichever you prefer. Some people don't like sage, so maybe you try Palo Santo, or maybe you like Capal, or maybe you don't like any of that and you'll use sweetgrass, or there's no correct way really to do this. It's all what you feel resonates with you. And then also you can use these things, smudging, to clear crystals as well. And we're actually going to go, I think the very next slide is crystals. And so you can use crystals because all crystals are different colors. We know now that all these colors have a different frequency, and these frequencies can be used as harmonizing tools for your chakras and your energy body. And these are some pictures from the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show in the Southwest, just to kind of give you an idea if you're not really familiar. These are some really big pieces. But so there's a woman, I should have both of them in here, but there's a woman, her name is Judy Hall, and she wrote the Crystal Bible. I feel like most people are familiar with her if you're already into crystals. There's another woman by the name of Katrina Raphael, and she has written these were the first 3 books. I think there's 2 other ones out now that I feel like are essential for anybody that really wants to dive into the deeper meaning of crystals. This woman is really something you'd want to look into.
And I also just want to jump in. Understand that the human body is a crystal. You are crystal in nature. And, it's funny. I have friends, not as much at this stage anymore, but back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, I have friends I grew up with that would laugh at me that I played with crystals. And they'd be like, I'd see them somewhere out or something like that, and be like, "Hey, you still playing with crystals?" I'm like, "Are you still playing with your cell phone, or are you still playing with your computer?" Like, people don't realize that if you have a watch, a digital watch, or you have a cell phone, what do you think LCD is? It's liquid crystal definition. I mean, all of our flat screens and everything, they're primarily at this stage are made of some form of crystal. And so don't kid yourself. Understand that crystals are amazing. They are alive. And you can program them. They're easily programmed, and they're actually easily cleared too. You don't necessarily have to, and I used to back in the day, but I've learned otherwise, especially from Drumvalo, that you can actually just pick up a crystal and say clear, and see, sense, and feel it clear, and it will clear. You don't have to do the moon dance at the full moon with the sage and dipping it into water and all this kind of stuff like we used to think that we had to do back in the day. You can really just pick up a crystal and say clear. And basically you can, if you know how to count the faces on a crystal, you can put that many programs into a crystal. And the last thing I will say about crystal, and I have them all over my house, many of my crystals I have hidden in my plants and in soil and stuff like that. But one of the things that I love about crystals is that you can put a program in a crystal, and a crystal will not complain, and it will run that program for eternity until you tell it to stop without complaining. And I just think crystals are some of the most amazing beings on this planet.
They really are. And it was one of the first things that came to me. And like Ron was saying, I'm still using my crystals. I'm still finding them or buying them. And like Ron was saying before, our computer chips, and I think even our radios, are all possible because of crystals. They've even found life forms in the ocean that are silica-based life forms. So it really is a living thing, and we can communicate with them and use them for healing. So here you can see some smaller pieces that are placed on the chakras, and they're using a pendulum there to douse out whatever she might be dealing with.
Now, I want to jump in here, and what you're seeing on her, they're not crystals, they're gems. And I can't see it so well. That might be a
well, this is malachite right here. This looks like citrine. This, I'm not sure. This looks like rose quartz. I'm not sure what's on her throat, but this is definitely some kind of a citrine. And this is definitely malachite right here.
So when you look at malachite and you look at citrine, you're looking at gems. A gem is different than a crystal, and that's one of the misunderstandings out there in the crystal gem world or in the energetic healing world. Crystals you can program. Gems are like they're like a rock, and they just emanate that particular frequency forever and forever. You cannot taint a gem, whereas a crystal you could put in a negative program. You can't do that to a gem. A gem is what it is. And another thing I just want to say real quick is that your chakras are spinning at different frequencies, throwing off different colors because of that frequency. So when you want to get into crystal and gem healing, one of the simplest things is that you just put a gem, or we'll stay with the gem. You just stick that particular color gem on that particular color chakra. Now, of course, it gets in much more detail. Some gems work across the board, like kyanite is a fantastic gem that can be used on every chakra. So I'm not saying that only that particular color works with that color chakra. There are others that can be used across the board. But just a good rule of thumb, if you're not familiar and you're just getting into using gems and crystals on the body, just, if you pick up let's say a red carnelian, well, that's going to go with your red chakra. And you're going to lay that there. Now, carnelian can also be used for the second chakra too, which is orange in color. So, I mean, you can, once you get familiar with things, you can advance yourself with the understandings. But they're really easy to use. Go ahead, Josh.
And then we did briefly talk about sound and cymatics and how we're beings of frequency and vibration. And so you can use these techniques to, in the same way, cleanse out the energy system. Here they're using tuning forks coupled with the acupuncture and acupressure points to help cleanse the system in the same way. It's really all the same. They're just different techniques, different modalities to achieve a lot of the same results. So what calls to you? There's really no right way to do this. If you resonate with, using something like this over the crystals, then give that a shot. So sound has shape. We discussed that in understanding cymatics and how they're able to show that the sound coming out of my throat has a three-dimensional shape that's filling the room. So mantras can be used to tune the body. And so you're repeating these phrases and these words and these frequencies and vibrations to help tune the body and the chakras back to its optimal frequency. An example of that would be Om, known as the primordial sound of the universe. I am that I am is a powerful affirmation. We mentioned Mantak Chia. He's got a lot of stuff available online for free. You could look up Mantak Chia's 6 healing sounds. He uses a lot of Qi or Qi Gong in combination with these different sounds to help blow out anything that might be any kind of blockages in the energy system. And I think we have, yes, this is kind of just for fun, but we want to show you this. There's some cool things out there on the internet that really demonstrate how sound is so much more than what we think it is. So this is kind of just, we can sit back and enjoy this for a few minutes. This is a guy who took all the different cymatic experiments that have been done throughout the years and put them all into a music video.
And we're coming towards the end of this talk, so hang in there.
The film you're about to see has no characters. If you spare a little of your imagination.
Sorry.
It is a film to describe to you the effect of cymatic frequencies on matter. Existence solely and completely sound.
That was Nigel Stanford. Cool video about cymatics. And then I think the next slide was just to give you, there's a film out there called Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds. And here was some of the best footage I've seen.
Cymatics is the study of visible sound. The word cymatics comes from the Greek root cyma, which means wave or vibration. One of the first Western scientists to seriously study wave phenomena was Ernst Chladni, a German musician and physicist who lived in the 18th century. Chladni discovered that when he spread sand on metal plates and then vibrated the plates with a violin bow, the sand arranged itself into patterns. Different geometrical forms appeared depending on the vibration produced. Chladni recorded an entire catalog of these shapes, and they are referred to as Chladni figures. Many of these patterns can be found throughout the natural world, such as the markings of the tortoise, or the spot patterns of a leopard. Studying Chladni patterns or cymatic patterns is one secret way in which high-end guitar, violin, and other instrument makers determine the sound qualities of the instruments they make. Hans Jenny expanded on Chladni's work in the 1960s. Using various fluids and electronic amplification to generate sound frequencies, and coined the term cymatics. If you run simple sine waves through a dish of water, you can see patterns in the water. Depending on the frequency of the wave, different ripple patterns will appear. The higher the frequency, the more complex the pattern. These forms are repeatable, not random. The more you observe, the more you start to see how vibration arranges matter into complex forms from simple repeating waves. This water vibration has a pattern similar to a sunflower. Simply by changing the sound frequency, we get a different pattern. Water is a very mysterious substance. It is highly impressionable. That is, it can receive and hold on to vibration. Because of its high resonance capacity and sensitivity, and an inner readiness to resonate, the water responds instantaneously to all types of sonic waves. Vibrating water and earth make up the majority of mass in plants and animals. It is easy to observe how simple vibrations in water can create recognizable natural patterns. But as we add solids and increase the amplitude, things get even more interesting. Adding cornstarch to water, we get more complex phenomena. Perhaps the principles of life itself can be observed as vibrations move the cornstarch blob into what appears to be a moving organism. The animating principle of the universe is described in every major religion, using words that reflect the understanding of that time in history. In the language of the Incas, the largest empire in pre-Columbian America, the word for human body is Alpa Camasca, which means literally, animated earth.
And so that clip was taken from Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds. It's on, I think it's on Gaia also, but it's available other places. You can check that out.
YouTube.
YouTube, yes. Actually, it's available on YouTube for free, I think.
Fantastic film. It's one of the best films out there. It's an hour long base, and it really breaks down sacred geometry. And so before we get into this next slide, and we're coming towards the very end here, I would like to put a little emphasis on, think about it. We live on a round ball, mostly water. We're moving through space about 17 miles per second. And we are part of a much larger system known as the solar system. Why is it called solar system? Because the soul, the sun, soul, controls the system. And it is in part of a much larger system known as the galaxy. But what I really would like for you to really understand is that our sun is changing. We are literally going from a hydrogen-based star to a helium-based star. That's why when we were younger, when I was a kid in the 70s, the sun used to be yellow. Now the sun is very white. And because the sun is changing, it is changing all, capital A-L-L, all the planets. So every planet is going through climate change. For those people who want to jump all over the climate change thing, should we pay a carbon tax for other planets too? I mean, it's time to get real here. So our solar system is changing, our sun is changing the planets. The planets are going through a change. Let me ask you, do you think that the human species is going through a change too? Do you think that maybe that's the reason why we're having a spike of all these illnesses, and now every other person I know is bipolar, and there's so many labels now. Everyone has something. And could it possibly be because we're going through these changes? And could you possibly assist yourself go through these changes when you become one with yourself and understand your entire aspect of yourself, such as the electrical system? And that's another reason why we put this together, to help people go through these changes on a much harmonic level, and not to be struggling and feeling like you need drugs and other external assistance as such. And to end, what I'm trying to say here is that, again, you saw with the somatics and how different frequencies show up or change the structure of water into different, or the sand on the plate into different geometrical shapes. Again, you are mostly water, and the frequencies are changing here. So we are shifting into a new conscious level or conscious shape. And you can really help yourself if you learn how to become in tune with your electrical system. Go ahead, Josh. The next thing we're going to bring up, and I believe this is just about one of the last slides, and if you're talking about sound, you have to bring up Tom Kenyon. He is, in my point of view, one of the top sound healers in the world. I love his work. I was blessed to meet Tom. I forget when it was. It was like 2007 or something. I did a weekend Magdalene retreat, and it changed my life. It was an incredible experience. But his work is unbelievable, and you could go to tomkenyon.com and sample out a lot of his music. He's got a 4-octave range voice. If you do not know about Tom Kenyon, or even if you do know of his work, you have to watch this film called Song of a New Earth. You can find that on Gaia if you're a Gaia subscriber. But it's a fantastic film. And the film is almost like taking a workshop, because there's times within the film that he does some really amazing chanting ceremonies, and it almost feels like you're there. So when you watch this film, you're going to want to put yourself in a quiet space and get prepared to kind of join into the film, because it's very powerful. Go ahead, Josh. And
yeah, just like Ron was saying, it's this film is very much like a participatory thing. When you're watching it, you prepare yourself to be in meditation for the length of the film, pretty much. And then to conclude, we have a little video to talk about the importance of ceremony and ritual, and I'm just gonna let the video do the talking here.
In traditional societies, ritual is used to give structure and meaning to the various aspects of life. In our modern society, where rituals and rites of passage are largely absent, transformational festivals are exploring how ceremony can restore meaning and purpose to our collective experience.
Ritual is mythology that is then put into practice. So mythology has story, it has symbols, and that mythology shows us our mind. And then the ritual is how the people embody the mythology.
A ritual tends to bring people together and awaken connectiveness. What it does is call to the soul.
The core of it is this intention that we're going to say to the universe, we're going to say to ourselves that we're inviting transformation, we're inviting uplift.
When you do a ceremony or a ritual around something, basically you're saying, hey, this is something really important. This is something that has a deeper meaning than just our personal momentary pleasure or convenience.
When I'm designing and facilitating ceremonies for festivals, I'm really trying to just create the conditions for a moment where everyone can feel like they are one.
You know, we've created our own rituals over the years, ways that we honor spirit or honor the land, honor the ancestors, honor each other, take time to really feel that spiritual connection. And in the culture making, we're remembering what ritual is like.
So it could be that there's actually a feeling out process, like feeling the way back into ritual.
Next, our journey exploring how ceremony is being integrated into transformational festivals leads us thousands of feet up into the Andes Mountains.
Adopting the name of Water Woman, we took on that essence and expanded that down here in South America. And as we discovered that we were harmonizing with Burning Man, we felt this really strong call to bring together the North and the South. So we invited a number of different tribes from South America here and an indigenous elder from the North to come and participate in ceremonies, share their teachings, share their wisdom, make offerings to the land here. One of the big teachings that I've learned through the Caros has been that in order to receive, we must give, and in order to give, we must also receive. So there's this cycle that plays out, and part of their ceremony has been to create a despacho, which is many different offerings from sweets and candy to corn to flowers to wine that we offer back to the earth in gratitude and in appreciation for everything that we receive, and also ask for permission for us to be here and to create this space. That despacho is then wrapped up in paper and offered to the fire, and we stand around in meditation while that offering is burned until we receive confirmation that the offering has been received by the spirits. we shared a pipe ceremony with all the tribes, so there was a beautiful, spontaneously organic ceremony that took place Saturday morning. Of course, the pipe ceremony is about union, the bowl representing the feminine, the stem of the pipe representing the masculine, and when the two come together, there's unity. And within that unity, there's a hoop created where we invite in all of our relations, and we pray with all of our relations, from the plants to the mountains to the sun and moon, which was really powerful to have that very strong medicine being brought down to the south and shared with the indigenous of the south.
So we bring in these various aspects, the crystals, the ceremony, the smudging. They really can be tremendous catalysts for you to really have a direct experience with your own electrical system. And so that concludes our talk today of the Meridians, Chakras, and Auras. If you have any questions, what we're going to do now is a quick 7-8 minute chakra clearing exercise. We're going to play a audio by Jonathan Goldman. Jonathan Goldman also has incredible work, a musician. So if you're looking for some good music as far as meditating or doing healing work, I highly recommend, of course, Tom Kenyon, who we brought up a minute ago, but Jonathan Goldman is also fantastic. So we're going to do this quick 7-minute chakra clearing meditation, and then we'll take any questions. And this is recorded, so we'll be able to send it out to any of you who need to like to rewatch this again. And we'll see you again next Sunday at 11 a.m., hopefully minus the technical difficulties we're having with our computers. So whenever Josh is ready, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, just let me know if it's volume.
That's good here. So just take a moment and sit with your back straight and just listen to the audio. We're going to run through the chakras. Yes, George.
Second chakra.
Try to see, sense, and feel orange, color orange, and focus on your second chakra.
Third chakra.
Now put your attention to your solar plexus and visualize the color yellow.
4th chakra.
So put your awareness to your heart chakra and visualize the color green or
Fifth chakra.
Put your attention to your throat and visualize the color of indigo.
Sixth chakra.
Focus your attention at your third eye. Visualize purple.
Seventh chakra.
Visualize one hand length above the head, white or gold.
First chakra.
So that concludes. It's a real simple harmonizing meditation. Jonathan Goldman. That's the 7 chakra meditation. It's that simple. It's as simple as just focusing and putting attention to your energetic system And if you know the vibration of each chakra, you can chant it. If you only know the color, which is very, it's a basic form, but you could just, and what I recommend is, let's say you want to just sit and clear out your chakras, you can see, sense, and feel each chakra. Let's say I'm on chakra 2, which is orange in color. You could just say orange, orange, orange. If the monkey mind won't shut up and you're trying to meditate, just chant out the color. Sometimes I'll chant love while I'm focused, in my inner eye I am focusing on the color yellow, or maybe I'll bring up like a sunflower in my head and just say love, 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 love while I'm focusing on a sunflower if I'm on the third chakra. It's that simple. But remember, we mentioned this in the beginning, week 1, the secret and trick to energy medicine and energy healing is intention, attention, love. Intention, attention, love. What do I mean by that? Well, you have to have intention. What's your intention? Is it a good intent or is it a negative intent? We are in a polarized world, so they both exist. So you have a good intention, and then attention, you have to put attention to it. You have to focus on what you're doing. You can't be pretending you're meditating and while you're thinking about the football game that's going to come on later or the dinner you got to cook. You have to have attention to what you're doing. So intention, attention, and you funnel that with love, you can't go wrong. When you are in the world of energy and you're trying to heal yourself or you're assisting someone else, intention, attention, love. So with that said, 2 things I just want to say real quick. Number 1, if you go to circuitryofspirit.com, we do have a donate button. This course we put together is free, but we do accept donations. And like Josh was saying earlier, we are looking to, we're probably a third way through the project. We have a storyboard drawn out and everything. We're just trying to find the right graphic designer to put together the entire electrical anatomy for us. Because we mentioned before, we got people like Alex Gray, and we have institutions like HeartMath at the Department of Stanford, and we have Dr. James Hart, Cybernaut Institute in Vancouver, and we have Drumvelo, and we've got these great people around the world, and they talk about different aspects of the electrical system, but nobody ties it all together. Nobody has pulled it all together yet and shown the entire system, and that is our goal, is to have the whole thing formulated and put together so that if you are teaching a Reiki class or you are teaching a yoga class or something, you can actually pull up these graphics and show people the entire electrical system. So again, if you like what we're doing, please go to Circuitry of Spirit. You'll see the donate button, and you can donate whatever it is that you feel you have to offer. The other thing I'd like to say is that for those of you that are sticking it out with us at the moment, I know we're having a lot of technical glitches, apologize, and we are looking to go live on Facebook. We were hoping to do that this week, but my computer decided it wanted to crash, so we were unable to do that today. But hopefully next week we'll go live on Facebook. And then probably by very early spring, we'll run through this 6-week program one last time with all the little glitches and stuff cleaned up. And we will put together a finalized copy of each week, and we'll have them up on our site so people can reference them at will. With that said, again, thank you. And we would like to open the board up now. Josh, you can unshare your screen. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to hit us up.
There's one in the chat here from, I'm not sure how to pronounce the first name, but Ron, do you see? She's asking, When do you have any ATIH workshops scheduled?
My next ATIH workshop is going to be in March. I have not stuck that up on Drumvelo's site yet. I was planning on doing that before the holidays, before the Christmas break here. So in the next week or two, I will have that up. So yes, that would be my next ATIH workshop in March. I think it's March. I forget. I think it's around the end of March. But yes, the answer is yes. Any other questions? Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, we can hear you. Woo!
Yeah.
All right.
Something I had to click to get the sound to work this week.
Awesome.
Did it. Awesome class. Had fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem, man.
It's good to hear your voice this time.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Glad it worked.
Anyone else? Anybody have any questions? Just not all at once. Hey, Georgie. Georgie, are you in Chile right now?
I don't even know. Is he there?
Oh, I'm not sure.
His mic is off.
His one, yeah. And I see Denise is with us. I heard her voice earlier.
He has another one with his own.
All right. Well, if there's no questions, again, we'll see everyone next Sunday at 11. And if you like what we're doing, please share. Share it around with your friends. Next week, I believe, is what, Josh, the heart?
It is, yes. It's heart intelligence.
Cool. So next week we'll be breaking down and discussing all the fantastic work that Josh and I have gotten to learn from Drumvelo and other places, but mostly from Drumvelo. And we'll explain the importance of the heart and what is known as heart coherence, and continuing to tie that in with your chakras and your electrical system.
All right. See you next week.
Thanks,
Cool.
Rob.
You bet. You're welcome, Denise. Good to see you, Mike. We'll see you next week.
Real sense.